today's guest believes we should protect, improve, and grow through smart business decisions.
Oh,
He's an
yeah.
author, speaker, and attorney, and he's written a book, The Art of Preventing Stupid, which I can attest is very good, which shows struggling entrepreneurs how to weed out the stupid mistakes they're making so they can move forward. Please welcome my friend Matt Davis to the podcast.
That's right. We are friends, which
That's
is
right.
pretty
How
fun.
are you?
I'm great. And I said it just a minute ago, but I like to say Polly Washington because it's just kind of fun.
It's a fun word to say for sure.
Yeah, it's like Goaty Bow, Oklahoma. So
Well, I know that you have been practicing law for over 20 years. I
yeah.
know that you have probably like books and books and books and books of mistakes that people have made that have cost their families everything. Was it mainly legal issues where you saw people making these mistakes?
Well, legal issues are, how would you put it? Legal issues are kind of the symptoms of underlying problems. Um, I learned, and by the way, I come to the table with here as an entrepreneur as much as a lawyer, because about 7 years ago I had I'm kind of joking, I'm kind of not. I had a midlife crisis and started a law firm. I was just sitting around my house practicing law. Everybody thought I was goofing off, and I was actually doing really well because when you're in doing that by yourself, your profit margins are psycho, right? I mean, 90-95%. And I had a few things happen and I realized I had to go start a law firm, right? And so we've got 25 attorneys now, or not 25 attorneys, 25 employees and 7 branches now and growing. I think we're getting ready to go to Austin. But back to your question, the all the time, the good lawyers know, they're like, oh crap, this happened again, that happened again, that happened again. And last year we actually did a just full tilt um, reverse engineering of the problems that people get into, and we put it in an online assessment that incidentally today we're just revamping, putting it in a more user-friendly format, and you can find that at davisbusinesslaw.com. And by the time this airs it'll probably be up, and you just go, man, I've seen this again, I've seen this again, I've seen it again. And Jillian, one thing I talk about a lot is lawyers, and this is a real failing in our industry. We're taught to deal with issues. Okay, that's what they talk about in law school, issues, really after they happen. Now, I look at things differently, mainly because mom would be mad at me if I didn't. Okay. And I'm not really joking when I say that. I mean, I'm saying it in a maybe amusing way, maybe tongue in cheek, but okay. So my mom was the only woman in her med school class. So, 19, I think she graduated in 63, maybe 61 from OU. I'm from Oklahoma and I live here, but got branches in Texas and Missouri and Kansas. And she came back here, which is our hometown, which is Enid, Oklahoma. It's an overgrown prairie town, but we like it. And practiced medicine. And ultimately, I did too. I was in Washington, D.C., and I decided to come back here. And it's been a real privilege in the sense that I've had so many people come up to me over the course of my career and go, your mom saved my life, or saved my wife's life, or my mom's life. And what she did was she was one of the pioneers of breast cancer screening, really in America, as far as really being on the forefront. And it's not that hard to do once you know what to look for. And from a professional basis, we've built out systems that ultimately we call the Strong Protected Business System, which is the title of the next book and the title of the platform that we're building. And we can really help business owners look in a systemic way at their business and go, this is what you need to protect from. So have I talked too much?
No, I think it's good because you have a unique perspective. So you are an attorney, that's your job, but you also have this other perspective because you're an entrepreneur. And I think for a lot of people, talking with attorneys or lawyers or talking about this scary stuff, they kind of don't want to do it. And so I think you bring a unique perspective to it because you're like, hey, I've been here, I know both sides of it. And sharing those mistakes that all of us as entrepreneurs have made really could help prevent other people from making those mistakes, which is what's so great about your book. And what do you think is the biggest mistake that you've seen? What's the impact of it to those who were involved?
Yeah. Okay. Now, the most common one I see is, and by the way, I don't practice law much anymore in the sense that my job's running the company. But here's what we see all the time. And it's we break down three main internal vulnerabilities in any business. And one is always you. So like Jill, you're a vulnerability to your business just like I am to mine.
Mhm.
And then your business associates and your employees, right? Those are your three big internal vulnerabilities. The thing that we see so often, and it drives me nuts, is people get into business with partners when they don't really need them. And what happens is they think, oh, this person will make up for my weaknesses. And then what happens is that really they bring in partners kind of like security blankets, right? If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And rather than just taking the responsibility of going and learning that skill set that they think that other person's bringing to the table. And what happens is then you've got this more complicated decision making process. You got two people with obviously, I mean, inherently different ideas, different goals. And very, very rarely does it make any sense ultimately. And very frequently, it ends up in nasty business divorces that can just be horrific and expensive and business killing. And I mean, I have just kind of a curt little line that I tell people when they come in, and I'm like, business partnership is like marriage without sex. You want to sign up for that?
Well, and I did a podcast on that too about failed business partnerships and what you need to realize before you enter into one. Because if you have a partner, you guys are probably having a great relationship right now. But what happens is sometimes that can deteriorate, and then pretty soon you hate each other. And then you're trying to battle it out legally for this thing that you've built together. What do you think is the thing that businesses fail to protect themselves legally? Do you think it's
Well,
in partnerships, or do you think it's
well,
different?
that see, yeah, when you say legally, I don't think they fail to protect themselves legally. I look at we talk about on one hand your systemic vulnerabilities, and that's one way of looking at your business. And that's what I talk about more in the art of preventing stupid. In the strong protected business, see, legal problems, again, they're a symptom of underlying problems. And so I talk about in strong protected business in the platform and in we're doing a Facebook group where I'm just kind of dishing on videos of the strong protected business builders group. I need to invite you to join that. We're just getting ready to kick it off. And so I talk about those three big internal vulnerabilities and then external vulnerabilities. And you've got your customers, right? Your customers can end up being legal problems if they're not paying their bills or if they're making complaints about you. Your vendors, some companies are really rely on their vendors. I mean, we just ran our strong protected business system with one of my his lifelong friend, and we're also in the same EO forum. And we were just dialing through his vendor problems. and he runs a big accounting firm now. And, he's like, wow, I'd never really thought about the vendors as a vulnerability. So, you got customers, vendors, competition can be a big problem. I was talking to a client down in San Antonio today. Okies call San Antonio San Antonio. It's like an old school thing. And they're a big national corporation, and I'm kind of their lead attorney um, down on the South Plains. And we were having problems with one of the competition swiping one of our clients, one of our customers. And so, I had to call the enemy's lawyer, because we know them by person, because we fight all the time, because they act up and we don't. And so, you got that. And see how once you can identify the categories, and what we teach people is, you in our strong protected business system, how to brainstorm. And you brainstorm what can possibly go wrong, because there's one problem we solve, and we solve vulnerability. Okay, that is the through thread in everything we do. And it might be we like to deal, my firm likes to deal with latent vulnerabilities rather than active vulnerabilities, right? Mm-hmm. And the kind of, I get going and I kind of lose my train of thought. But you have to brainstorm out what can go wrong. So if we ask the question, what could go wrong with my business? That's a vacant question, right?
It could be anything.
Yeah. But what if we do this? We go, what can go wrong with me? Okay, there's an internal vulnerability. What can go wrong with my business partners, with my employees? Now we're starting to dial in smart questions. Mm-hmm. Those are your internal vulnerabilities. Then look at your external vulnerabilities. What can go wrong with my customers, my vendors, my competition? How about our friends in the government? What can the government do to screw up my business? And the answer is a whole lot, because they're here to help, right?
Right. Absolutely.
No, they're not. Come on.
Well, do you think that what do you think the top priorities are for a business, when they're looking at those? Like, is there a list that you share inside your Facebook group where people could get access to that, where you really dig into what those priorities are? So people might not even be aware of it, or like, oh, geez, I never thought of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really smart question, as we would expect from Jillian Flodstrom. So here's what we did. We took all the main vulnerabilities that businesses deal with from our perspective. We reverse engineered the case types we see over and over and over again, and put them down in categories based around that subjective list I've kind of been talking about, of the internal and external vulnerabilities. And what we then did, let me toss this in the fire here. There's a great essay called "Evolve Yourself to Scale Your Business." Have you ever seen that?
I haven't. It sounds fascinating though.
Well, it's only like 3 or 4 pages long, and it's by a business consultant out of Mexico. And I think he's out of Mexico, Latin America anyway. And he talks about the different challenges facing businesses at their scales of growth. So for instance, from 0 to 6 employees, which is pretty congruent with 0 to $1 million in revenue. Yep. Okay. These are the main problems you're going to face. These are what you have to, this is what you have to deal with. And then I think the next is from 6 to 15 employees. That's a different set of challenges. And then, from 15 to 30 or whatever, and then higher. I can't remember exactly the details. I don't have to remember because I have it written down somewhere. And what we did is we said, look, these are your main vulnerabilities. We looked at that. We looked at the reverse engineering of the case types we see. And then we said, okay, from 0 to 6, here's the problems, here's the vulnerabilities you need to deal with, for sure. And those are coded. I got a little chart, they're coded green. And then it's a 16-page deal. I just handed it out. I spoke last night. And then, maybe it's yellow that, yeah, maybe you should think about dealing with this, but it's probably not real serious. And so we broke it down by those 4 levels. And that's really part of our online assessment. It's basically our online assessment, but going, this is more important. You don't need to worry. Look, for instance, you know, all businesses should have a succession plan, right?
Absolutely.
Now, well, I kind of think so too, but you know what? If you're just starting out and you don't have a dang thing to lose, it's not that important, right?
There's
You know,
definitely probably some other things that you should focus on first.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the point. But, I run a pretty big law firm anymore, and we run about 35-40% growth every year. And so, I have a sizable outfit that, um, is worth some money. And, I die, we've got a problem, or not. I don't have a problem anymore, but my wife and kids sure do. And who's going to run the law firm? And law firm ownership, by the way, is tricky because you have to have one of these things right here. Look, I got a whole bunch of them called bar cards. Where's a bar card? They're just fun to get out. What's really fun to get out is that's my Texas bar card. My Texas bar card is something like 24,374,000 or something. And my Oklahoma bar card is 16,000. So is my Missouri. Well, the hell, there are 24 million lawyers in Texas, but there you go.
Oh, but I like
So
that point that you brought up, because I think it's really interesting, because you're right. There's certain things when you're first starting out that you have to focus on. And then as you continue to grow, which I think is great about your system, because it does grow with business owners as they grow. And there's different things that people need to focus on the bigger they get, versus, I think there's something to be said for the comfort of using your system, using your law firm, so people know that you're looking out for them. Like, these are things that they don't necessarily have to focus on, because you're going to be there to say, hey, wait a second, what about this? We're getting to that point in growth where you need to give some thought to this. Just having that asset there is huge.
yeah, and absolutely. And it's, for us, it's a major disruptor in how we practice law,
Absolutely.
because my competition and I don't, by the way, I talk about how to deal with your competition. Just blow them away. Just,
Just
figure.
so awesome.
Well, it's true. I mean, I tell the story about competition. My son Luke is just fast as lightning. He's adopted. I'm not fast as lightning. He's adopted, and we were watching him at this race once, and he's smoking it, and he's in second, and then he starts worrying about the guy behind him, and I'm like, just be the best. And everybody in the crowd is yelling him because they know he can beat the guy in front of him, and I'm like, just go beat that guy. Quit worrying about him. Go beat him. But um,
But it's like that in business too, because sometimes if you're so focused on what's behind you, you lose track of what's in front of you.
yeah, and for us, we we spend a lot of time e- educating our clients, providing materials, and they appreciate it. It helps us grow. And by the way, I mean, the crazy thing from my perspective, this is maybe, as we say in the law business, an admission against interest. But one thing about the people that work with us is we're always busy working for them because it's a new level, new devil thing.
Absolutely.
So, as we're helping them improve their business and grow faster, and I talk about this in the new book, and I talk about it when I speak. in business, you're either in the opportunity zone or the problem pit. And
I love that.
it's a binary choice. That's it. I mean, it's A or B. There's no C unless C is you're playing video games or whatever, but you know, it's A or B. And um, the more we keep people where their opportunity zone is 90% or 95% of what they're doing and their problem pit's minimized, that's hugely valuable to them.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, the companies we work with, we love those growth companies that just blow up and take off. We're having fun with one right now. I was just talking to him, and these guys are like uber nerds, and they know it. Okay, they're geologists, like geospatial engineer, geologist, dork types, right?
That's super nerdy, but awesome at the same time.
Yeah, right. Well, what they figured out is, so a lot of oil wells have produce a lot of salt water. Okay. And so, for instance, actually, this didn't come out of salt water, but you know, the helium in your balloons comes out of natural gas wells
Sure.
from around Amarillo. That's just the deal. And all the iodine in your salt comes from oil wells right out here, 60 miles that way. It's like 90% of American iodine production is coming out of oil wells. And these guys have figured out one spot that has got enough lithium in the salt water to produce, you know, to supply America's demand.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And so, you know, we've been working with them since they started the company, and it's been really fun just to help guide them and keep them out of trouble. And, you know, half the time they're like, we want to get in a fight with XYZ, you know, whatever. I'm like, we're not getting in the problem pit. We're going to stay in the opportunity zone. And, you know, we're the prettiest girl in town. We're, you know, at, you know, there are people that you can imagine, you can just list them. I'm not going to say their names, but they're calling us right now. And so, and you know, and we're just constantly busy. I mean, I've got to work on some of their stuff here as soon as we get off this awesome podcast. But point being, once you get going, this is what I say: deal with your vulnerabilities so you can capitalize on your opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I I rely on, you know, Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote a follow-up called Great by Choice. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
It's a little more obscure, but for small business owners, I I recommend it more than Good to Great, and I recommend Good to Great all the time. But he talks about the 10x leaders, meaning the just superior leaders of their companies. Of course, they got to have ambition, they got to have creativity, they got to have drive. But the fourth thing that they have is they have the ability to be productively paranoid.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and from my perspective, that's the space we own, because we do it better than anybody in the world. And so, going back to, now let's kick over to Good to Great. You know, the hedgehog principle is, you know, the conjunction of what do you love to do? And I love helping people. I love helping them build their businesses just like you do,
Mm-hmm.
and want to see them prosper. You know, that's why our core value number one of our company is believe and protect their dreams.
Yes.
And then, you know, can you make money at it? Yeah, we make money. And three, can we be the best in the world? Yeah, we can be the best in the world, because guess what? We've helped so many people out of their legal problems, and we've got the heart to reverse engineer how do we keep them out of this, and how do we ask the right questions, and then ultimately how do we build a system which ultimately this Art of Preventing Stupid is just part of the system. Because guess what? I'm getting better every day. That's why they call it practicing law, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So, and yeah, we're about to really dial in a yeah, this next book and the new system we're building, and we'll turn it into a seminar company. Is we're It's exciting because, man, we've just, the businesses we're working with now, we just and get under the hood with them and run the new system. Wow, we've dialed in some great results here lately, and we were doing fantastic before, but I'm excited. Can you tell? This is how excited I get.
Exactly. Well, and where can our listeners find out more about you and your work? Because if they are like, listen, I got to stay out of the problem pit, I want to stay in the opportunity zone, where is the best place for people to find you at and work with you more?
Right now, it's davisbusinesslaw.com, and we're revamping a lot of stuff right now. And then over at Facebook, we're just building the Strong Protected Business Builders group. So, and we're building, but we're turning out a lot of content. And I had a little distraction between books because our largest client, and this really tells the story, by the way,
Mhm.
of, you deal with your vulnerabilities so you to capitalize on your opportunities.
Mhm.
And this is a big national company, multi-billion-dollar a year company, and I was their lawyer for a couple branches out of like 800. And I was concerned because they were our biggest client, and it's like, that's a vulnerability. Your biggest
Absolutely.
customers, that's a huge vulnerability. If that's, and they were about 30% of our business, and that's not a great spot to be. They're about 8% right now, but I went down to Fort Worth, and I had a meeting with the regional vice president, and I'm like, this is what you guys are doing wrong, and this is what you need to understand about the litigation program and how you're handling your legal affairs. And about a year after that, I got a call from the general counsel, and he's like, "Do you want 12 states?" And
Really?
yeah, and but it's but the point of that is we were dealing with the vulnerability, so we were the best player on the field. I mean, nobody touched us
Right.
because
Well, and
nobody.
being courageous enough to step up to the plate and say, listen, there's something wrong here. Like, and it's about to smack you in the face if you don't deal with it, right?
Yeah, and so yeah, I was helping them deal with their
Yeah.
vulnerabilities, but from our perspective, I was dealing with ours, and it mushroomed into business, and it kind of got me distracted, learning and building the systems to handle that volume of work, which I'm really getting under my belt right now, and have built the team to handle it. Kind of distracted me from the main mission I have of teaching people how to protect their own business. And so I'm a little behind, and we're just now building the platform to go start preaching this, because guess what, too, we did our first book. We did great. I mean, I should be real happy with it.
Absolutely.
We were Amazon bestsellers several times, and I don't know what that all means. We sold some books. We sold anyway, and but we're doing it differently now, because that's one thing you do in business. It's constantly try and get better, because your battle's with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, Davis Business Law. What I'm getting to is I'm not happy with where we are with what we have out there for people, but I probably never will be. DavisBusinessLaw.com's out there. We're getting our online assessment revamped and back up, and that's the main spot. I've got a personal website that I personally hate right now. I'm going to revamp it, and so on. So yeah, that's where we are.
Well, and I think that's true for any business, though. We're always changing, we're always evolving. Things are always going to look different. And that's what's exciting, that you are open to that change. You guys are always evolving. And while evolving, you're helping us as regular business owners do that too. So thank you so much for stopping by
Oh,
today. I know you're crazy busy, but I'm so excited that you were here. You shared so much information with us. And I will be sure to link all your links in the show notes as well, so people have a quick and easy way to get access to you so they can schedule meetings with you and talk more about their businesses.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely.